Good afternoon and welcome to Clarendon Fine Art live official Instagram. Today I am super excited, as I always am, but I'm very excited because we are going to be going live with wildlife photographer Harry Skeggs. Might give you a little bit of a hint behind me with two of his magnificent pieces. We're going to be joining Harry live, hot off the press today, so I'm very excited, hot off the press. He's going to be releasing his new series, Spirit in the Wind, featuring the most beautiful Camargue horses that he's just done. Fingers Harry can join us, but welcome to you all on Clarendon Fine Art as we wait for Harry Skeggs to join us live. And he's here. Harry, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Harry. This is a huge honour. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been wanting to do this.
Pleasure's all mine, for sure.
Thank you. We've been wanting to do this for a very long time, Harry, haven't we?
We have. We tried obviously to do it out on location in France. Reception didn't allow, so here we are. It didn't,
but this is fantastic. And I know we're joining you live, obviously ahead of you unveiling your new series, Spirit in the Wind. But how have you been? How's lockdown been for you? I know we're sort of in round 4 or 5 now. I've lost count. Have you been good?
I've been very well, thank you. It's obviously been a big upset to my sort of normal routine because I can't travel, but that's allowed me to focus on lots of different things, and we were able to escape to the south of France. So it's been different. It's been okay. We've survived, and you know it's sort of redefined what's important for us. So it's been good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know, Harry, I mean, again, we've been wanting to do this live feed with you for a long time, and we'll absolutely come on to your new series, which is magnificent, Spirit in the Wind. But just to kind of go backpedal a little bit, because obviously a wildlife photographer, fine art photographer, you tell us a little bit about us, because I know that you studied art history at Cambridge.
Right, yes. That's right.
Obviously, so your background is fine art. But did you always know that you wanted to be sort of the artist behind the camera? Is that something you always knew?
It's a very good question. It's actually sort of the last thing I imagined doing in many ways. I always kind of wanted to be a painter, and I was sort of very interested in the old masters, and particularly sort of Caravaggio, and also particularly sculptors. And I really saw a lot of value in those kind of arts. I never really thought that much about photography. I kind of thought it was just, you know, a manual skill. And it was only really when I went traveling for the first time, and I kind of picked up this terrible camera and shot away thinking it was all very easy. And when I got home and I showed my photos to my friends, my family, it didn't really convey the kind of essence of what I was trying to capture. And I realized this was so much harder than just clicking a button. So it kind of fueled this ambition to get better and improve. And sort of all went from there. So it was sort of very unexpected. And I really, having grown up in a family, very animal-minded family, you know, dogs are sort of family members, not pets. You know, I'd always had this love of wildlife, so that kind of came first, and the photography really just came second, the byproduct almost.
Absolutely, and I think one of the key questions that I know you and I have spoken about quite a lot. You get asked this question a lot, and we thought, you know what, let's get this over and done with at the beginning, okay? Because I think a lot of people ask you, we get asked as well, that people that believe that to be a great artist, they need to be like sort of Monet and create this sort of great masterpiece on canvas. But this isn't the case. Just give us your response to that, Harry.
Well, in many ways, it's exactly like painting in that, you know, you're aiming to capture light, and the technique that you do that isn't necessarily the skill. You know, it's everything that Monet puts into a painting. It isn't just his brushwork. You know, it's the years of creativity and trying new things, and it's that lifetime of experience that makes his work fantastic. And that's just the same as the photographer. You know, everything that you're seeing in these prints and prints of other great photographers is years worth of experience in the field, not only learning how animals think and behave, but also understanding how light works out in the field. You know, you've got this fraction of a second to capture this shot, which has to kind of stand the test of time. You need to know in that millisecond exactly what you're doing. So it's all the build up to it, you know, and each shoot, for instance, in your tooth and nail, for instance, in the background there, that was a month worth out in the field. It's easy to think of it as 1 second click, you got your photo, move on, but it's not the case at all. It's months and months of hard work.
Absolutely. And also your work, I think, you know, especially with like tooth and nail, and obviously we've got Limelight to my right. But I think one of the reasons that it's not that you stand out, it's just that as a wildlife photographer, ethics. No, but your ethics behind your work are really, really important, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about that, because that's absolutely vital with what you
Oh,
do.
it's absolutely everything. It's like I say, the photography is almost secondary. It's important to me that my work is more for wildlife than about wildlife. And having fallen in love with wildlife first, the photography I realized could be a sort of a platform for a little bit more. So it's fantastic in education, in kind of raising awareness, and I work very closely with Generation Tusk, which is a charity we sort of help co-fund part of Tusk, the fantastic African charity. But also more than that, every sale we make a donation to Generation Tusk, so it's help funding charity, and we're also really consciously aware of our footprint. So for each tree, FSC certified tree we use in the printing, we protect 100,000 primary rainforest trees. Protecting being the key thing. Replanting trees is not good enough. The lungs are there. We need to protect the lungs. So it's so important that what we're doing here gives back and then some, rather than just taking. Yeah.
No, absolutely. No, I agree with that, and it's a great charity, and I know you can read a lot about that on your website.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And would you say that obviously with your sort of ethics behind your work, there is a real sense of, although with tooth and nail, I'm not so sure, but there is a real sense, Limelight definitely more so, and I know your new series that we'll come on to in a second, but there's a real sense of calmness in your work. So how do you achieve that?
Well, I'm first of all very glad that you say that, because that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. And it's very noticeable in this series, you'll see, but for us, the important thing is that we are there on wildlife terms. So we're not getting in there. We're not hassling the animals. We're not sort of maneuvering them into space, stressing them out. We're very much learning from their body language. So we spend a lot of time with field craft, understanding when animals are saying, you're too close, or I'm happy, so that we are there with their acceptance, really. So your tooth and nail, for instance, lions only really yawn when they're calm. So she's yawning just before a hunt. She's feeling relaxed. So we know that we're kind of accepted. Same here with these horses. Their ears are up. They're standing calmly. They're not moving. That means that they're relaxed and quite happy for us to be there. And that means you don't get these sort of stress animals.
Do you know this, Harry, just from years of working with animals? You get to know, like you talk about the ears, and especially with your elephants, your beautiful pieces with the elephant. Presumably an elephant, they do something with their ears, don't they, when they're alarmed?
They flap up their ears. They'll sort of run at you. Well, if they're very alarmed, they'll do a little mock charge, but they will make their size bigger with these ears. And I have no place really in my photos for elephants with ears. The only photo I have with the elephant with their ears out is a photo actually where she's just flapping them because she's hot. And I'm just sort of waiting for it to flap out. But these alarmed ears where they're up and the tail's up as well, and their head is up because their eyesight's terrible. It just has this feeling of stress. And that's not what we want to see. We want to see a world which is protected, and that's what we're striving for. So, for sure.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Now that kind of nicely brings us on to your new series, Spirit in the Wind, which are these beautiful Camargue horses. Wild, right? Wild horses.
Yeah, wild.
Very wild. Tell us about a little bit about the series, because I know you went at the end of October when we were out of lockdown.
That's right.
To go and beautifully photograph these. So tell us a little bit about that. What an exciting trip that must have been.
It was sort of quite last minute in a way, because we had a lot of trips fall through, and it was just one of those years. I mean, of all problems to have, falling through trips is not the worst, but it just meant we had to be very reactive. And so I was just sort of searching around for things that I wanted to do, and the Camargue horses had been on my list for a long time, and I didn't know very much about them. And when you Google Camargue horses, almost exclusively you see these photos of these beautiful white horses and the stallions running through these waves, and they just look incredible. But the reality is that's not the case. That's not their true nature at all. They're very placid animals, and you can see them sort of standing here. And
they look very tame. They look quite tame, right?
So they are sort of semi-habituated in that they're calm around human presence. They live outside, they eat outside, they breathe outside. They're all completely wild, but they have grown up around humans for centuries. So they're quite sort of comfortable with our presence. and that's obviously a great benefit. But that's the nature I wanted to capture. This kind of very calm, quite ethereal nature as well. And the name Spirits in the Wind. These beautiful white horses who spend the most of their time in the very dark waters of the marshes. So these sort of beautiful white ethereal animals against this black backdrop. I really wanted to capture that kind of feeling, and sort of contrasting then.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that one's Morning Reflections, isn't it, behind you?
This one here is
see.
Equus. Yeah,
That's
and then
Equus.
we've got Morning Reflections underneath, which I can quickly show you. Need to be careful not to drop the others.
No, this is really kind of you, because I know that we're actually joining you. Kind of, these are hot off the press. I know that everyone's received the catalogue today, but actually these are the first limited edition prints that are now available to Clarendon Fine Art, and this is very exciting.
This is the first time that these have been printed to the full size like this. We do test strips, but you can only see half the screen. But
that's okay.
There we go.
Fantastic.
So this is Clash. And you know what? For the most part, while these animals are very, very calm, quite gentle, if you put two boys together, there's going to be a little bit of play fighting. So these are just two stallions sparring, very good-heartedly. No horses were hurt. But
no, but they're playing. They're playing. Right?
They're playing. They're very much playing. Yeah, it's just gentle sparring.
Fantastic. So obviously we've got I know 6 in the catalogue. I know there are 12 in total, but there are 6 in the catalogue that people will have received this morning. So obviously you went just with one other guide, or sort of
the guide, local guide. Yeah, exactly. So the way the whole place is set up, it's all private land, but the horses sort of roam free within that. So you have to know the people whose private land to get onto it. So we had a local guide who helped us out with that, and he was very helpful. A guy called Serge, very nice guy. And so it was just me and him. And often we have sort of a slightly bigger team, but it was quite nice just doing it as a sort of skeleton crew. And what I really liked, it was the first time I'd been able to escape during lockdown. And I was just really, in my own heart, worried that I might feel a bit rusty. But the reality was, I've been pent up for that long, just sort of bursting with creativity. And I just wanted to try new things and do different stuff and try different angles. And I think as a result, it's some of my best work to date. So I'm excited to release it.
I'm really excited, and we have officially released it today to our clients, and obviously following this live feed, we'll be chatting to clients about it. But I think it really is quite incredible, because I know that we wanted to join you live on that.
We tried, didn't we? We
did try and join you. We'll definitely try and join you later in the year for others. Cross fingers, but this is quite remarkable. So absolutely, these are definitely in the catalogue, and again, they're in different. We've got you've very kindly done slightly different sizes. So the ones behind you are fairly large, aren't they? Which have amazing wall presence.
Yeah. So these are the second biggest. You can actually, some of them can go bigger, but they go right the way down as well. So this is a 56 by 40 inch, but they go down to sort of 20 inch at the longer side as well. So more of this kind of size. So we have a range of sizes suitable for every home, and we have, some landscape ones and portrait ones as well. So we even have some square crafts as well.
I love it, with very low additions. I think I'm super excited. These will look amazing. Can't wait to see them in the gallery, I have to say, because these are superb. Now, you've got many influences. Obviously, for you, traveling and working on location is vital, isn't it? So you travel. I mean, you give us some examples of where you've traveled, because I know you've traveled all over the world to capture.
Oh God, all over. Yeah,
literally.
So I've done over 85 countries now, everywhere from the North Pole to Papua New Guinea to the deserts of Africa. So any kind of terrain that you can imagine. For me, whilst a lot of people specialize, and I can see the logic in that, I think that excitement of exploration is what keeps me going, keeps me wanting to be creative and try new stuff. So I like to explore, and I do go back to places, but every year I'm finding new places to shoot, new subjects. So it's anyone's guess. And this is the quite exciting thing about the lockdown actually, is that my plans are rapidly changing. So I don't know this year what I'm going to get. Yeah. And we're planning to do Antarctica later in the year. We're planning to do Alaska for the grizzly bears. So we've got some really exciting stuff planned, but who knows when it'll all land.
Oh no, I think it's amazing. And you've got, and are there any others to see behind you? I know
We do, yeah. We've got, I think, one more.
four.
I think we've got morning reflections.
And that's Equus on the right, isn't it, that I can
This
see?
is Equus here, yeah.
That's Equus, which I know actually from my studying. Equus is Latin for horse, if
It
I'm
is,
right.
very good, very good.
Right.
Yeah, very impressed. So this is the colour version of Morning Reflections. There's also a monochrome version. So this comes in colour, and this lovely sort of morning light. And they do just like to sort of stand in huddles. This is the more dominant, and these are the submissives. And they'll stand together and make this nice sort of pyramidal structure. And if you just wait long enough, kneeling in the freezing water, the ripples will begin to subside, and you can get this lovely reflective shot.
Wow. And are they all seen from the photographs to be this beautiful kind of white cream in colour? Are they
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly that colour?
So the younger ones have a bit of markings, very sort of slight markings and dots normally. But as they turn into this adolescence, they do they're sort of a yellowy white, but quite white. And they have this lovely, lovely manes. And some of the other prints in the edition, you'll see a little bit of sort of wind in the hair, and it's it could be in the front cover of Vogue. They are beautiful animals.
Oh, there's a thought. Yeah, that's a good one. I can see it now. No, you're right. They are really beautiful. And for your work, Harry, I mean, I know you've got many influences really that have, influenced your work. But just tell us a little bit about that. Because I imagine that's hugely important to you, what influences what you do.
Yeah, it is. And it's a very good question. And because I came so backwards to photography, it really started in art. So, the art masters, and, I do still look back to those kind of inspirations. And, for Equus, for instance, using this tenebristic, Caravaggio-esque kind of background, very influenced by that. But then sort of more recently, especially as a child growing up, David Attenborough, a huge influence to me. He was incredible at turning the public's attention to maybe unknown species. And it's so important in gathering awareness and support for these animals. You can't support these animals unless you love them, and you can't love them unless you know about them. So, what he did for the natural world, deeply inspired me.
He's a bit of a fan of yours as well, isn't he? Didn't he write to you?
He did, yeah, he did, very kindly. Sort of early on in my career, he wrote me a letter saying, that he was very impressed by my portfolio, and, coming from a man like that, who doesn't need to take the time to do that for someone else, and someone who I respect so deeply, it was a very nice moment. And actually, one of the sort of linchpins that really made me think, well, actually, this is something I can do, full time. If someone like that can say something like that about my work, then God only knows, sky's the limit. So yeah, it was deeply honoured, and I'm not embarrassed enough to say that it is framed on my wall at home.
Brilliant. I don't think you'd be alone, Harry. I think if anyone was to receive a letter like that from Sir David Attenborough, we'd all do the same. An absolute legend, and especially in your field. And I think from the influence there, a bit like you were saying about your sort of ethics behind your work. It's kind of for you, I guess, is that from a photographer's perspective, it's the art comes from you. So the artist behind the camera, photographing your subjects. And he's a bit the same, isn't it?
Oh, so I totally agree with that. It's a very good. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it's interesting. I go on tours sometimes with clients, and you take sort of 5-6 people, and it's very interesting to see how many different photos can be made from the same sighting. Photography is all about the way you see. You'd be amazed by how much just changing how you stand, whether you crouch or get high, can change the photo and the meaning behind it. And it's why it's so important with all of my work. I don't use sort of traps or triggers or anything like that. Everything that you see is just me, camera in a hand. So every audience is sharing that experience with me. So Tooth and Nail, for instance, we were that close. We were a couple of meters away from the lioness.
It looks a lot more scary. I mean, I know she's yawning, but that to be only 2 meters away, which really is about there, is actually Wow. I mean, you really have
Yeah.
got to know your animals and exactly what you're doing, because I wouldn't be able to get that shot. So
No,
it's amazing.
it's a perspective you don't tend to get and tell the story, I have to
Yes.
say. But getting
No.
that upward shot into her mouth is a very unusual angle. So
And what
um,
was she about to go and find food for
exactly
her
right.
cubs,
Yeah,
or?
exactly right. So they oxygenate themselves by yawning just before a hunt. And she has these young cubs. She's this new mother, never had cubs before, and when they have cubs, they separate themselves from the pride. So the biggest risk of death for young cubs is actually infanticide by other males. So they separate themselves, and she has to hunt alone for the first time, and
Wow.
she is having a pretty tough time of it actually. And you can actually
Wow.
see when you get close to the print, she's missing a tooth, and she lost
Yeah,
this tooth.
yeah.
Yeah, she lost it the day before trying to take down a buffalo single-handedly, which,
Oh
you
my
know,
God. Oh
it's
my God,
madness, and
they're enormous.
10 times the weight. Yeah,
10
but
times.
sort of a speaks maybe of desperation, but B also, this is a lioness. She really is fighting tooth and nail, trying everything to feed her cubs, and it's quite a heartwarming tale.
Wow. And you must get quite attached to,
Yes,
the
yeah, it's
animals
a
that
real.
you really must. I mean, I get, whenever I watch, Planet Earth, or I watch anything to do with Sir David Attenborough, I mean, I end in tears.
Oh God.
You're watching, and it is, you can't go intercept, can you? You
No,
can't help
it's
them.
very
You
much
can't do
you're just
anything.
a voyeur. Yeah,
You're
you can't
just a
intercept
voyeur.
because
No.
because especially when we think a baby gazelle being eaten by a lioness, if you were to save that lioness, you may be killing cubs.
Of
So
course.
it's very
Gosh.
easy to kind of stand in for the victim, but actually, that absent that
Yeah.
victim, there might be
You
other victims. So it's not our place to be involved, and so it's very
No.
heart wrenching. It can be. Nature can be very cruel,
Wow.
but that is nature
It
after all. So
It is. It
that's
is. Well,
just
what
how
an
it is.
amazing. I think it is. I think it's an amazing art form, and for you, as an artist, and photographer, to be able to, be on, in these amazing locations, being able to see these beautiful creatures. I think it is. It's almost it's unique, but it's exciting, but also
It is.
rare, and just an amazing opportunity. Incredible, to be able to be so close to them. So I think with this new series, Spirit in the Wind,
Mm.
again, we've released it this morning, to our clients, and hopefully as soon as we can, when we're out of lockdown, we will have you in gallery,
Yep.
across our Clarendon Fine Arts, across our boutique galleries across the UK, so that people can see these magnificent. They really are magnificent, and you have to you really, when you see them in the flesh, they really have amazing
It's
wall
important to
presence,
see them in the
because
flesh. Yeah, it is
oh
that detail and the color and the depth to it. Yeah,
yeah.
it's so important to see them in the flesh for sure.
Definitely.
Um,
No, absolutely. So your next few trips then, Harry, because I'm very keen to join you on a live feed when you are on one of your trips. So you've got Antarctica, lockdown permitting. You've got
yeah,
Antarctica coming up, which you must be very excited about.
yeah. Well, that was cancelled from last year, so I was meant to
Yeah,
have
I
gone already.
remember.
So, and it's taken
Yeah.
me years and years to kind of agree this trip and plan it. So that's coming up. That's South Georgia, Falklands, and Antarctica. So very excited about that trip. So I very much hope you guys can join me there. I'm also heading out to sort of wild part of Alaska for grizzly bears. We're hoping to get really,
Oh,
really
fantastic.
close, and so they'll be the fishing bears. So
Wow.
very hopeful for that.
And
Also headed
do you
to
stay? Sorry to interrupt you, but do you stay in? I'm presuming you don't stay in these amazing lodges. I bet you are. Are you literally raw
yeah.
camping in the wild?
When I'm by myself, yes, absolutely, because it's
Wow.
important to get away from other people, and you
Yeah.
want nature as raw and as wild as it can be, and that really means sort of separating yourself from the kind of the tourist track. So yeah, it's important to get that that kind of exposure to the wildlife, and we've had scenarios, for instance, when I was in Canada last year, and we saw a bear who'd evidently never seen a human before. He was
Oh,
so freaked out by what we were, couldn't work out what we were, and that's a kind of quite a
wow.
unique experience. It's easy
For
to
both
think now that
sides.
yeah, and humans are everywhere. So to think that there's still wildlife that hasn't seen a human is sort of it kind of fills me with a bit of a relief almost.
Yeah, yeah. So there is still that rawness out there.
There's still
However,
some wild, yeah.
there is still some wild out there, which is important. But yeah, well, that would be great. I think we'd love to join you on one, because I think that would also kind of take us, to actually where the research happens, in a way, which, like you were saying, is so vital in the final photograph looks absolutely superb. It definitely does on gallery walls and on home walls, but actually, going backwards and seeing exactly how you got to capture her so beautifully is almost, I love that behind the scenes story. I love all of that.
Oh, totally. It's so important.
It's massively important for you.
And we do actually, with every print we sell, we always have a presentation box which comes with a certificate of authenticity and all that, but also a sort of little sheet which says the story behind the photo. So when you're hanging that on your wall, the story behind this animal, and it's fantastic, I think, in kind of building that kind of relationship with the piece of art on your wall. The aesthetics is only 50% for sure. I think it's important.
No, it is really important. Brilliant. So we will definitely join you on a when you go out on location. I think that would be definitely the next best thing. And I know you've got lots happening, obviously, over the next few months, to which we'll be following you, and we will obviously let everybody know. We will all know as soon as we can, and we can be back in gallery. We will definitely have you back in, and we will have the work on display.
It'd be lovely to meet guests, and look forward to it a lot.
It would be amazing. I know that we've definitely been receiving, because I can see them, a lot of questions as well, Harry. So what I will do is I'll put the questions together, and maybe you could answer them for us, so that we can go back to clients as well. I've got a lot of people that I think in Camargue, obviously where these wild horses are, which is near. We've got clients asking, obviously that's down near Marseille, isn't it, in the south of France?
It is, yeah, down the south.
Okay,
yeah, exactly right.
We've got quite a few questions on that, so I will definitely forward those on. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you, Harry, because it's a real privilege, real privilege. And I know, again, like I said, we've been wanting to do this for a very long time, but this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So it is really exciting for all those watching, or if you've just joined. I know that the catalogue, Harry's brand new series in his catalogue, Spirits in the Wind, with these amazing wild horses, has been released today, and we have emailed it to our clients. But if you haven't received it, do let us know, and we will send it to you, and we can talk you through it. But Harry will, I know, be available as well if we have any questions, and everything like that. But Harry, best of luck, in the next few weeks and months. Keep us posted on everything you're doing.
We will, for sure.
Definitely. We love seeing it. We love seeing it. And just to be able to join you and release and unveil these brand new, beautiful wild horses is a huge honour for us. So thank you very much. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Harry, very, very much. And we'll look forward to seeing you as soon as we can.
As soon as possible. Yeah, fingers crossed.
As soon as possible. I'm like crossing everything. So as soon as you can, and sending you, just the very best. And look forward to seeing everyone soon. Take care, Harry.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.